Wait a second. Oh my god. Did Satoko... Did she actually... No, wait. Oh my god, she wrecked the chandelier! Whoa! How much blood do they have? Alright, so I'm just gonna begin off this video with a question. I don't understand the whole thing about people being on Team Satoko or Team Rika. I just don't understand that because from the way I'm looking at these episodes, like from what I just saw in episode 21, they're kind of both at fault. Like, I don't think either one is in the right or wrong. Neither one of them is in the right or wrong. At the same time, their dependency on each other is what's causing this to happen. Their dependency on being around each other is causing this to happen, for which, I'm gonna say this now, for which you can yell at me in the comments if you disagree, but I think the only way for this situation to be solved is for Satoko and Rika to accept that they both have different ideas of how they want to live their lives, and that kind of involves them going different paths, aka separating from each other. Like, that's the only way this situation can be solved. The two to accept the fact that they want to go down different paths of lives. Like, that doesn't mean they can't be friends anymore. It's just that they won't be in each other's company every day. I mean, that's already technically happening at St. Lucia. Like, I can see why Rika and Satoko want to stay together. Like, they went through all the troubles of the initial loop together. They kept each other alive. Satoko and Rika, they kept each other alive. So I can understand why they don't want to be separated. But the lesson that they will have to learn is that they're going to need to be less dependent on each other. That's the only way I can see this situation, be solved. The lessening of their dependence on each other. But of course, that might be wrong. And if you disagree with what I just said right there, please yell at me down in the comments below. Now, let's talk about episode 21. To be fully honest, I don't have too many comments about this episode because mainly it was just the downfall of Satoko Hojo. She finally got the power to become a looper, and she tried preventing Rika to go to St. Lucia. She tried preventing the tragedy that happened the first time by passive ways. She wasn't actively, forcing Rika to stop studying, but instead, she was going with the passive route of doing various things to, convince Rika not to study, but instead play in Himizawa, for which that tactic worked a little bit until, well, she fell asleep. So Rika did play some games with them, but at the same time, she still took some time to study during that night. And of course, right after Satoko caught on to her, well, they had a talk. The two of them talked, for which that was a step in the right direction. They were talking, but a step back was taken by Rika. For which this is the first instance where I'm gonna be saying that Rika is kind of still causing, unintentionally, let me clarify, unintentionally causing the tragedy to continue by convincing Satoko that she wants to be with her at St. Lucia and that she'll help her. And through what Rika said, Satoko agrees to go to St. Lucia with Rika. Now, I'm gonna say this now. Yes, that is something that was a step back from their conversation because, well, Rika didn't follow her word, but at the same time she did. I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, Satoko goes back to St. Lucia, and well, same thing happened again. And she goes to confront Rika in the lobby of St. Lucia. Now, during the confrontation, there was one line in particular that made me think a little bit, saying, oh, Rika didn't technically lie to Satoko by how she stated, even though I said I'm not taking sides here, this definitely is a big, support to the pro-Rika side. Because Rika asked Satoko for help, but she refused to help again. I'm gonna be honest here. If Satoko accepted that help, maybe the situation would have been better, or maybe it would have been the same. I don't know. Like, that's the reason why I'm not fully saying that, Rika's in the right, because the same situation could have happened even if Rika tried helping Satoko. And at the same time, Rika didn't pursue Satoko even after Satoko refused. Like, it's not ever implied that, Rika tried after the first refusal. So, yeah, that's where I'm at the whole point of Rika's kind of seeming a little bit better, motivation-wise than Satoko. Like, at least Rika's trying a little bit more than Satoko. But at the same time, I don't want to, take sides in the discussion of who's wrong or right. I don't want to do that. That's not my intention. But I'm pointing this out because Rika is at least trying to help Satoko, and Satoko's just refusing help. For which, yeah, I could kind of say that, Satoko's kind of being a brat. Like, this is hard for me to say this because, well, yeah, Satoko is a brat. She's kind of being a brat. She doesn't want to study, and she wants to play all day. At the same time, she wants for her best friend Rika to do the same, even though Rika wants to go to a different path of life. The two of them want to do totally different paths. One wants to do more play, one wants to be more sophisticated. They need to split. They kind of need to split a little bit. They need to take a few steps away from each other so that they both can, continue on with their lives and, not have this tragedy go on. But neither one of them were going to do that. They're not going to do that. Even though that is the answer. Even though, yes, I am saying what I think the answer might be. At the same time, having that answer, be shown to both of the characters is not as easy as I'm saying it. Like, I should probably clarify this now. Yeah, this answer that is kind of obvious is going to be very hard for these two to, come to. So yeah, I can kind of understand why, the same thing happened again, because this answer is not going to come to them that easily, and when the answer does come, it's going to hit them like a truck, because they don't want to separate from each other, but that's the only way they can continue their lives happily, is if they take a few steps away from each other. They don't have to stop being friends. They don't have to stop being friends, but they need to, be a little less closer to each other for the time being, because they want to go down different paths. Though, as we could tell from Satoko, she's not really going down a normal path of separation. She's continuing on, trying to convince Rika into staying in Himizawa. The Stockholm Syndrome has begun. Because at the end of this episode, I'm gonna be fully honest here, I've said this many times, Satoko makes a great villain. I said that she would make a great villain. And you know what happened? Satoko is a great villain right now. I don't know where I said this, but I think in a video I made about a year ago, I said that Satoko would work well as a villain. I said that! I think I said something like that in maybe Sumiho Oroboshi, yeah. When I was playing Sumiho Oroboshi, I said something along the lines of Satoko would be a great villain. And you know what happened? Satoko is becoming a villain! Even though it's kind of decisive whether or not she's a good villain or not. At the same time, I find this arc to be very, it makes sense. This kind of makes sense for Satoko. This kind of character arc of, being a sort of more villainous character, it definitely works with Satoko, and I'm gonna be honest here, I still like her as much as I did before. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest here, I still like Satoko because she's kind of a decent villain to me. Now, I can see why some people might not like her villain arc. Some people might say that it's, making her character not as likable, but I'm gonna be honest here, I sometimes can like villains. I can sometimes like villains. Even though I can understand what Satoko is doing to Rika is horrible, at the same time, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, do I like seeing Rika in torture? Kind of. I still love Rika, don't get me wrong. I love seeing her be tortured, but at the same time, I still want Rika to be happy. And I also want Satoko to be happy. Though, GOU's not gonna be that kind of story.
OK, OK.